first week, I averaged about 2,250 calories, and in that week I lost almost 11 pounds. Hello, Buffy. Here though. We're up in Northern Ontario today. Any of you that have been here may recognize that was the Little Current swing bridge we just rode across. Started our main Saturday bike ride there. And we're gonna go, I'm not sure how far we're gonna go. The app is calling for an hour and a half. Probably gonna target at least an hour. I'm still easing back into things after that back injury from 2 weeks ago. I also lowered my seat this morning about 2 centimeters, just to maybe see if I could take a little bit of the pressure off my hands and shoulders. It feels pretty good right now, but we'll check in on that again in an hour. So we drove about 45 minutes this morning to get to Little Current to start my bike ride, because the Saturday bike rides are supposed to be zone 2. And there's a lot of hills around here. But I knew that this first stretch of road stays pretty flat for about 20 kilometers. It's about the only flat stretch of road around here. But if I had any hope of staying in zone 2, this is the place we had to come to do the ride. I did an interval ride, I think it was on Tuesday, from the RV park where we're staying. And it's right in the middle of some small hills, which was fantastic for the interval ride. I was able to get my heart rate up to 160 beats a minute climbing the hills, and then catch my breath as I coasted down the other side. So for an interval bike ride, hills are fantastic, and it worked out really well. But that's not the goal of today's ride. Today's our main Saturday bike ride, zone 2, supposed to stay under 122 beats per minute. Pretty sure I'm over that already. Nope, I lied, we're at 109. Coach and the family dropped me off. They were gonna go tour Little Current, show Coach's brother where he grew up. We moved here shortly after he was born. And then the only other workouts I did this week was I did 2 days of brisk walking on my running days, only because I was still a little gun shy about my back injury, but it's feeling pretty good now. And then I was able to get a swim in on Sunday, which is normally when I do my run. But last Sunday that wasn't gonna happen. We went to visit some friends and they have a pontoon boat. So we took the pontoon boat out into the middle of the lake so the kids could have a swim. I took my goggles and snorkel with me and did the best I could to get some meters in. Basically, I started at the boat. I swam 25 or 30 strokes out, 25 or 30 strokes back. Tried to vary up my pace a little bit, keep some variety. I think when I was done, the Garmin GPS showed 573 meters. So a nice easy swim. And I was being careful not to strain my back. It felt good. We got to one point where Coach was on a floaty and she had a rope. It was keeping her attached to the boat. But we unclipped the rope and I threw it over my shoulders. And I spent the last few legs dragging her back and forth in the water, just to add a bit of resistance. It worked really well. I gotta slow down a little bit. Pedaling into this wind, it is difficult. I'm at 144 beats per minute. Back off here quite a bit. Just past 6 kilometers, 17 minutes. So the only other notable thing that we accomplished this week is that I was a bit frustrated because I ordered a new body weight scale. And when I checked myself 2 weeks ago, I was up 6 pounds from when I started my training. And I hadn't lost any waist circumference, which frustrated me. And I think partially led to the injury. So what I did was I made an adjustment to my daily food intake, and I calculated some protein numbers, and then I managed my calories, which I completely admit on a carnivore diet you do not usually need to do. But I figured there was something wrong. I can't eat till I'm comfortably stuffed. My body does not know what comfortably stuffed is after 43 years of abuse. So I started counting calories just to see what kind of effect that would have. And what I found was not astonishing and didn't surprise me, because I suspected for the last couple of months that was my problem. During the first week, I averaged about 2,250 calories a day around my structured meals, and in that week I lost almost 11 pounds. So that made me think that maybe I was onto something. So I continued to gain for another week. And as you can see from the graph I'll pop up on the screen, I'm actually back up 0.2 pounds. So by restricting my calories, I dropped 10 pounds and leveled out. Bounced around a bit and maybe starting to drop again. So I'm gonna stick with it. And the other thing I noticed is that I'm eating considerably less food than I was before. And just guesstimating based on my calorie intake now. Previously, I suspect I was easily in the neighborhood of 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day. I don't care what anybody says. For the average person, even eating a clean, whole food, healthy diet, if you're consuming an extra 1,000 calories a day, you're going to gain weight, or at least not lose weight, depending on how big you currently are. I think the point is coming where I can trust my body to tell me when it's full without the risk of overeating, but I'm not there yet. So for now, we're going to continue to try to hit that 2,200 calorie average every day. I might even drop it down a bit just to really see if that is the issue. But I'm optimistic that by the time I get to Miami Man on November 9th, I will be below 300 pounds, which I think is going to help tremendously with that race. We're almost to the top of the first hill. Heart rate's at 151. Not too bad, but definitely not zone 2. Because the best part about a long uphill is usually followed by a long downhill. Which means we can have a water break and not lose any time. Of course, that always means it's followed by another uphill. Well, that was kind of close. Sort of wish I'd had the camera running for that one. But I just stopped here by the guardrail to loosen the straps of my bib shorts to stretch my neck, and a hauler went by full of junk cars, and a bunch of metal flew off of it, bounced off a car coming the other way, and landed right there 50 feet in front of me. That could have been much more interesting. Ticked over 20 kilometers in exactly 1 hour. So that's pretty good. Heart rate stayed in the 130s up that hill. So I'm pretty happy with that. We're gonna crest the hill right here, coast down the other side, 9 flat kilometers back. So I did want to talk a little bit more about what I've been eating to hit my 2,200 calorie a day and to try to get as close to 235 grams of protein as I can. But the important thing is it's not that different from what I was eating a month ago or 2 months ago, or really for the last 3 years since I started carnivore. I'm just eating a smaller volume of food, which I think is helping. I certainly don't feel like I need to eat anymore. I certainly feel like I could eat a lot more, but I know I don't need to, and I'm very comfortable with the amount of food I am eating. But breakfast is pretty consistent. In the past, it was between 4 and 6 eggs and probably 4 slices of bacon. Now I'm down to 2 large eggs and 2 slices of bacon. Perfect balance of fat, protein, 0 carbohydrates, and it's been a good breakfast. I've been having that for almost 2 weeks now. Lunch varies a little bit. I've got 2 go-to staples that I usually have on any given day. The first is 3 to 4 boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I usually cook those on the smoker because, well, they're delicious. Somewhere between 8 and 12 ounces of chicken thighs, and I'll usually cook it up with a couple of strips of bacon just for a little bit of flavor and added fat. My second go-to lunch is sardines. I love sardines, and if anybody's looking for pure magic, a little metabolic reset, I'll link a video down below. Dr. Boz's sardine fast. I did a 5-day one back in the springtime. It was remarkable. Hit my lowest weight ever. Sardines are magic, and I love sardines. I know a lot of people don't. I love sardines. I'll take 2 cans of sardines. I'll mash them up in a bowl with 2 ounces of cream cheese. I'll put in some diced up pickled jalapenos for flavor and texture. And then I'll have that with usually a handful of pork rinds. Or like I said, just a fork, because it's delicious. And that clocks in right around 500 calories. Lots of healthy fat, lots of protein. And then dinner is usually one of 2 things. It's usually 10 to 12 ounces of steak. I prefer ribeye when I can find it for a somewhat reasonable price. New York strip, also good. The fattier cuts. Sirloin, if it's all I can find for a reasonable price. Doesn't have a high enough fat content for me. A little bland, but that's what salt's for. But 10 to 12 ounces of steak. And if we're not in the mood for steak, or we don't have steak, usually it's burgers, 2 to 3 burger patties, sometimes with the slice or 2 of processed cheese, sometimes not. And that's been putting me right in around 2,000 calories. And then there's always usually a protein shake or something like that. Sometimes a bit of 85% dark chocolate. So that is pretty much my daily food intake. And I think it's been working really, really well for me. One thing interesting, one day earlier this week, we're on vacation up north. We took the kids for a day trip into the science center and to visit the underground mines in Sudbury. And we did not pack food, so we ate out most of that day. And I consumed a lot of carbs that day. I stayed under my total calories, 2390 or something by the end of the day. 3 meals out, fairly high carb. Mighty McMuffin from McDonald's for breakfast, habanero chicken wrap from Tim Hortons for lunch, a chicken club wrap and a salad at Swiss Chalet for dinner. So about 2,200 calories, 2,300 calories, 141 grams of carbohydrates. When I got home that night, my blood glucose was 7.5. which is to be expected after a day like that. But what I was really happy with was the next morning, my glucose was back down to 5.3, which is, if anything, a little bit low for me in the morning. Usually I'm 5.4, 5.5, but 5.3 was fantastic, which tells me that I'm regaining some of my metabolic flexibility. But if you have any questions about the carnivore diet or how it's affecting me training for an endurance sport, which is unusual, most people think endurance sports is carbs, 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 and more carbs. It is really not. Fat is your body's fuel for long, prolonged exertion. It is not carbohydrates, it is 100% fat. Check back to the video from 2 weeks ago. I talk a bit about that. I linked to a great video. Professor Noakes and Dr. Chafee talk about the exact same thing. And if you are into endurance sports, don't think you have to carb load and drive your insulin through the roof to get the energy that you need. You can get it all from fat stores on your body. All right, we're about to tick over 25 kilometers. It's been an hour and 15 minutes. The pain in my shoulders is getting quite excruciating. I did stop a few minutes back and take the straps off my bib shorts. That always helps a little bit, buys me about 5 kilometers. And I really got to figure that out. It's really preventing me from being able to do longer rides. I think a bike fit sooner than Florida is probably going to be a good idea. Anyway, I'm going to get back across the bridge. It's still about 5 kilometers ahead of me, and I'll wrap it up for you guys when I get back to the truck.